All right, brother, here we go. I appreciate you sitting down with me today.
Yeah, you got it, man. Anything for you, B-Boyd.
Thank you much. Just quick intros to Alan Murdock. He is CEO of ACM Ventures. He is extremely experienced in flipping real estate. Why don't you just quick just blur about yourself so people know where you're coming from?
Sure, you got it. So I've been in real estate for just about 19 and a half years. I was attracted to the investment side of real estate from the beginning. At ACM, we started ACM back in 2008 when the market collapsed and we saw an opportunity to start flipping houses. Before that, we were developing land. And now ACM's turned into three core businesses. Our bread and butter is our fix and flip business. It's what provides the cash flow. It's our, it's more or less our oxygen, man.
Yeah.
It's what keeps everybody paid. We've had the opportunity of doing just over 1,300 homes here in the Tucson area. We've done a handful more outside, not more, but in addition to that, we've done stuff in Texas, Colorado, Utah, Washington. We kind of hit kind of heavy, and Oregon. What I really realized is there's so much in my backyard. I don't know that I need to, be going other places. So that's our first core business is the fix and flip. It provides the cash flow, pays for the overhead, and it's our lifeblood of our business. The second business that we have is we do some land development.
Mm-hmm.
So that started off with just, a lot that we could split in half and get a house on each lot. Then it turned into, like half a block, and, we get 3 or 4 units and show people how to increase their density. And now it's turned into, we deliver platted and engineered subdivisions to national home builders. So we have half a dozen of those going right now. And those cash out about once a quarter or so. So it's the kind of business that's feast or famine. So we would be reluctant to give up our fix and flip business to do just that. There might be a time where that makes sense, but I like having a couple of streams here just to smooth out the ebbs and flows. The other one is our build to rent business. So that is something that is in process. We have located a piece of land that we're doing a 140 unit multifamily complex on. That's going to be the first one of that size that we've done. So really looking forward to that. But again, without the fix and flip, we couldn't do the development, and without the development funds, we wouldn't really be able to do the build to rent. But we do see the build to rent as what's going to keep us going for the next couple of decades.
Yeah. I mean, 2008, what a time to start a venture like that, huh? I think people were doing probably the opposite in 2008.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just took what the market was giving us at that point. Yeah. So we got into, and I was flipping houses all the way from 2001 up until 2008 also. So it wasn't a new thing for us. It was just new because now it was our central focus.
Yeah. Okay.
January of 2008, when a lot of people were still trying to figure out what was going on at the courthouses, we figured out that they were selling below, the amounts of the mortgages. And that really wasn't well known. I mean, it took a couple of years before people caught on. So it was a very opportunistic time, so we were fortunate that we were able to make that shift.
Yeah, and I think there's some parallels. People are at least comparing, this kind of mini downturn with COVID to kind of the 2008 financial crisis. But there's obviously a lot of differences in, kind of the foundation of what's causing it. But has your business changed at all in the last, 60, 90 days because of everything going on? Have you had to adjust your practices or?
Yeah, well, I would say, what's really changed is you're almost renegotiating all of your relationships, your business relationships.
Yeah.
So the biggest change for us was the wholesale liquidity market just dried up. So in a lot of ways, it's presenting opportunities for us because a lot of our competitors in the fix and flip business just kind of put the pause button on. They're not operating at all. But in addition to that, we had a lot of our land stuff that also the transactions we were about to close,
Hmm.
pause and not put on those. Cash flow immediately cut off, probably, I want to say March 10th, 11th, 12th. That's when it was really obvious that the cash flow was going to change in a very significant way. Within a couple of days of that, I had identified that we needed to shift, where we were spending our energy. It takes an awful lot of energy to talk to people about, a pandemic and, a
Yeah.
market being put on pause. And we just knew that, well, I knew that I wouldn't be able to keep up that energy level without making some modifications. So
Mm.
I've worked out in the mornings for 25 straight years, and I moved my workout to the evening because I need
Mhm.
all my energy to literally, resell my investors who are already investing with me. I've had a
Yeah.
handful of them call, and all of a sudden they would like to get their funds back. We're
Yeah, everyone's trying to get liquid, you know?
yeah, well, everyone wants to hedge themselves.
Yeah.
They just don't know what's going to happen. So, you have a handful of investors that are that way. They just want to get their cash back to figure out what's going on. I've had other investors who want to double down.
Yeah.
So, but how we're sourcing deals, had to change a little bit. I went and I started taking the lead line, myself, because I wanted to hear the voices of the people calling, just to kind
Yeah.
of get a better feel for how that's going. I was having a meeting with my team once a week, and then touching base with them, throughout the day as a deal required me to do so. But now we've switched it to, we have a 9 a.m. Zoom meeting on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Wow.
And we're probably talking, 10 times throughout the day, because every deal we're doing is sensitive.
Yeah.
We're, a loan program is changing, or we're talking to a buyer about backing away from the edge. It's
Yeah.
still okay. We've also had a lot of sellers, call kind of in a panic, that want to sell to us, and we're telling them, hey, the market is still good. There are
Mhm.
still people who want to buy homes. It's just a strange time in the world as far as accessing them, showing them, getting inspections scheduled, stuff of that nature. Even when people want to sell us stuff, getting into the homes to look at them, we've obviously got to
Yeah.
treat that respectfully. You can't just go marching into someone's home anymore. We're keeping distance. We're doing a lot of, FaceTime purchases.
Mm.
Uh, we're
Really?
doing a lot,
Are they like showing
yeah,
you around the house via
yeah,
FaceTime or
a lot of DocuSigns, stuff like
we'll
that.
take it?
But back to kind of the biggest shift is, I just knew that it would take a lot more work to
Yeah.
just to maintain, or it might, and we're seeing that it takes a lot of work just to lose less than you would have had you not upgraded your
Mhm.
efforts.
I mean, have you
So
seen just overall what you're doing slow down or pick up or just it
yeah,
seems
interesting question. So the first couple of weeks very much felt like one step forward, one step back. Like
yeah.
we'd get a deal back on track, and then it would get broken down from another angle. So, you work 2 or 3 days to get something rolling, and then, then it falls apart. Then you do it again on the same deal. So, some of these you're having to move a couple of times. You got to get creative with, where they're getting their funding sources and stuff like that. And I'm
Mhm.
speaking more of the acquisition side of our business, and the fix ups, and then the selling the land. So we do everything from fund boutique builders on small, like 5-unit developments, and then we sell the larger ones to the national home builders. But the smaller ones, all of their funds went away, so
Yeah.
cash that we're expecting to come in did not come in. So with that adjustment, we just knew that it's going to take an awful lot of energy. And as far as bringing in additional leads, I put
Mhm.
everybody on my team on a 30 outbound call a day program. There's no secret
Yeah.
to it. It's
It's
just
important.
just just having the conversations. It's what you're saying, and how many times you're saying it is probably even more important. But
And measure
that was
consistency with actually like tracking, making sure they're making those
yeah.
calls.
Well, you know what I figured out a long time ago is everybody thinks they're close, think they're fantastic at getting this stuff done. You go, oh, how many people did you talk to today? You know, they'll say 10. In reality, it's 6, but they don't know because they're not tracking it. You know what I mean? Then they think they're getting, half or more of all the deals that they, talk to. And, if they were doing that, they'd be, an absolute all-star in the major leagues. But once we started tracking it, these guys aren't even batting 100.
Well, everyone in real estate's an eternal optimist, I think, and you probably have to be.
Well, yeah, to keep rolling sometimes, but yeah, once you start tracking it and you're aware of the numbers, then it's like, okay, if I've got to get 2 deals this week, and if I make, I've got 10 calls a day to get 1 deal, then you up it to 20 calls and go from there.
Yeah.
So, so that was one of the other adjustments we made, and it took a couple of weeks for the adjustments to start paying, because it was one step forward, 1 step back. But over the last 2 weeks, we've really felt the difference.
I mean, have you seen everything kind of calm down in your market, where I know, because everyone not overreacted, but everyone reacted, and then whether it was over or under or whatever, like that obviously causes a lot of changes really quick. So have you just seen more consistency in the market maybe in the last, it's hard to measure, but 7 days?
I would say yes, actually. I mean, in the sense that, I think people just adapt, and people are starting to adapt to their situation. I have noticed that traffic has picked up quite a bit. So, I run out and check on my pieces of land or, our projects that we've got going. And, there was a point where I wasn't seeing any cars, 2.5 weeks ago. Crazy. And now I would say the traffic is probably, I don't know, I'm guessing 35, 40% of what it normally is, but that's a lot more than it was 2 weeks ago. So I think people are starting to feel that, as long as they keep a distance, they can operate at a certain level. And with that, our calls started increasing, our inbound, leads started coming in, and all the work we had done for the last month really started to pay off last week. We bought 8 new properties last week.
Wow.
We listed,
it's incredible.
Yeah, we listed 3 others. And we've got a problem with the pool.
What, obviously you're doing a lot of building and you're rehabbing these properties. Did you see a slowdown in being able to kind of work on them and fix them?
Yeah, that's a question I got to be careful answering, right? No, my crews that work together.
We'll cut this out.
Yeah, they're all contracting crews, and they have the same like 2 or 3 or 4 guys that work together.
Okay, well, so they followed whatever the Arizona Tucson guidelines are. How about that?
Yeah, I think so. Well, they did say the real estate was an essential business, so that part
True.
worked out.
It is essential.
Yeah, they're the same guys working together. So what we did is we looked at it and we go, okay, if the market is going to fall, what's going to happen? It's going to start falling on the peripheral first, and then it's going to work its way into the city core. So then we identified all the properties we have on the peripheral, and then we doubled down the crews that we had on those so we could bring those to market the quickest.
Wow. Nice.
Just because, you probably saw it or you heard about it when the market dropped in 2008. You could see the high water line in all these small outer communities that don't have as many services and stuff. And it's like, oh, these were selling for 300. They couldn't give them away for 100. So we have properties that are in those outlying areas. And one way we want to hedge ourselves is bringing those to market while the prices are still strong. We don't even know if they're going to drop. We just know that the market is strong today, and we want to get them on the market as quickly as possible to not take our chances. So we're really aggressive with our efforts, to get stuff going. You know what I mean? We're still conservative in the sense we price stuff, we price it to sell. We're not trying to hit, home runs on all these deals. We're just trying to, keep loading the bases. So.
What about buyers? Have you seen, obviously you're listing a lot of these properties and you've seen kind of the buyers. Have you seen buyers kind of back down, or just overall? I know you pay attention to, the market in Tucson. Have sales slowed down at all, or has it been, same thing, fairly consistent?
Yeah. You know what? it's actually been very busy. We don't deal with a
I
lot
believe
of
it.
buyers ourselves, and but we are getting some buyers
Yeah.
right now, especially on our land.
Hmm.
Our singled out lots are really starting to move. We're getting, half a dozen calls a week on each one of those listings, where
Wow.
we get maybe a call every 2 weeks on something like that.
That's
And
interesting.
when we're selling that stuff, we're outbound. We're giving an outbound effort, because a lot of the people who want to buy it aren't even looking for it. It's kind of bizarre. So I would say that um,
You think a lot of these investors sharks, man. They're looking ahead of the curve, and they're seeing
yeah,
probably what kind of deals they can get, and they're already planning for the next thing. That's
yeah, I've had
interesting.
a handful of people. I had one lady get me on the phone, and we had a little lot for 120 grand, really
Hmm.
nice lot, great value. And the lady offered me 20 grand, and then she cited we're falling apart, and then she said her sister bought a lot around the grand, but that was like 19 years ago. You know what I mean? She wasn't totally transparent about that. And I
Yeah.
just said, well, that deal's gone. She already got that. So, but for the most part, people we're getting contracts every other day. We're getting contracts on stuff. So I think the traffic has slowed down, the actual
Hmm.
traffic, but the transactions haven't. So it's a little bit more efficient. The serious people are still
True.
going out. They're still shopping. So that's pretty good. And that's what we need to be in our business right now is, I told my team, we got to work twice as hard and we got to be twice as efficient,
Yeah.
and everything we're doing, we're trying to see what is an essential task, what isn't. And we're
Mhm.
learning a lot. We're learning a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think this time has been a really good time for a lot of people to kind of hone those processes and just like going forward. I think a lot of people are learning maybe how they're going to act, when everything kind of gets normal and clears up, and kind of maybe finding new routines, finding new practices, and just trying to learn. I know I watch a lot of people on social media, and kind of what they're trying to do as far as, you know, wa- watching podcasts and, YouTube videos and learning new skills. And, um, I think a lot of people are probably going to come out of this better, hopefully, right? That's the goal for hopefully everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the people who are serious about it, they'll definitely come out better. I do
Mhm.
get a sense that, um, there's a lot of people that are looking to cut the fat out of their businesses.
Mhm.
If you're an employee, or, if you're a partner in a, in a partnership, if you don't know who the slacker is, it might be the person in the mirror, and you,
Oh
you, you,
no.
you want to look, I just think that there's going to be a lot of people that will be looking to do something different.
Mhm.
Just because every business owner, I mean, myself included, you can quickly tell who's stepping up to the plate and who's not. And
Yeah.
once
You want to
once
be an
you
essential employee at this time
absolutely, or
more than
partner, or
ever.
yeah, and I think that that's going to happen in a lot of different businesses.
Mhm.
You're running a restaurant, you got a couple people that are kind of, they call in sick a little bit. Sometimes they give good effort, and sometimes they don't. I think a lot of those people might be in trouble here.
Yeah.
So, but it's still going to create a lot of opportunity too for those people that are taking this time to
Mhm.
educate themselves, to watch podcasts, to hone their skills, to acquire new skills. I mean, those are the kind of people who make it no matter what the world throws at them, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people too. I find it interesting. A lot of people are just like, "Oh, well, I'm just kind of waiting until things die down, and then I'll get on it." And it's like now is the time, like, to put yourself out there and um, engage, right? Like, what other opportunity you have to get in front of a lot of people that normally are on the go and tough to get a hold of? I mean, normally even a conversation with you, brother, like you're so busy all the time, like it would be tough to even squeeze in these few minutes. So, I appreciate you sitting down with me, and I think it's uh, just back to, I think it's so important to put yourself out there this time because everyone's just sitting on their phones, and you probably have a better chance than ever of getting in front of somebody that you've been trying to get in front of for whatever, 6 months, even a year, depends who you're going after.
That's a great point. That's a fantastic point. I mean, a handful of people that I've been trying to get a hold of, I have gotten a hold of them.
Yeah.
So that's worked out. The other side is, I will say this, because of the shift and just going into the unknown, probably I don't feel like there's been a month that I've worked harder than this last month.
Not a
And
while.
flip side of that is I know some people are basically have hardly done anything
Oh man.
over the month, So, I usually rest when times are good, not uncertain. When it's uncertain, I'm just going to double down with my efforts, not,
Yeah.
not get, obviously approach, things with caution, but but I'm still approaching, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sitting and waiting.
Yeah, I think being consistent in uncertain times is probably one of the most important things. Even if you don't feel like you're making a lot of progress, it's just that old saying, right? Just one step at a time, just keep moving as long as you're moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and for our business, the consistency is the only thing that feels normal.
Yeah.
'Cause you should have seen it was March 12th, and I remember I saw the little text. It said Golden State Warriors are not playing hoops, and I said,
Uh-oh.
okay, you know what I mean. I know what tomorrow morning is going to look like, and I had my whole meeting, and they're all wide eyed. They're just like not sure what's going on. So I knew at that point it was important to just kind of rise up and
Yeah.
show them what working looks like. And man, it's been really good. I've been really proud of the team. They've really stepped up. So
It's good to hear. I mean, you're hiring good people then.
yeah, gotten better with time, that's for sure.
We all learn.
I only learned the hard way, buddy.
Yeah, don't we all, man? I think that's the only way to learn sometimes. So don't
As far as I just would not want to be an employee who is obsolete in any way, whether my attitude is obsolete, my skill set's obsolete, whether the speed at which I do things is obsolete. All of those things are, I think that's what's going to change. It's going to change for people who haven't changed. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. And I'm just curious to see, I mean, obviously coming from the lending space, what lending is going to do. It's been interesting to see, I guess when I kind of my last statement about all that was more speaking to, I mean, my own personal industry and where everything's going. Cause it's just crazy to see all these programs, I mean, immediately roll back. I mean, obviously my specialty, as you know, has been a lot of the jumbo self-employed, and to see a lot of these secondary, like banks, or the banks in the secondary market just really pull everything back. Liquidity's dried up. It was literally like, I don't know what day it was, but it was a Monday. I'll tell you that. And I just got a call. Everybody, like, I know a lot of the bigger lenders that are doing these products, and they were just like, we're done until further notice, and of course I keep track, and I speak to a lot of these people, and I mean, no one really knows kind of what the next step is. So I'm curious to see kind of where lending takes even the bigger banks, to see them roll back and like, oh, we're not, Chase is like, oh, we're not doing anything below 720 FICO. I mean, that's a pretty big drawback. I feel like there should still be, I think there's still going to be a lot of these programs come back fairly quickly, but I guess we'll have to see kind of, what the secondary market does.
Man, liquidity is a crazy thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, I mean, even in a lot of my competitors, myself, the liquidity is what makes the market go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're not dealing with a cash market. Even the people who buy in cash, like myself, I immediately turn around and, do financing on it. And if that financing piece goes away, which I did have a $10 million credit line that just said, time out, we're going to wait till May 1st. And then about, a week and a half ago, they're like, we're thinking that might be June 1st. Everyone, they're just trying to hedge themselves. But that was across the board, so to see that liquidity dry up was, that's what can impact us more than anything, as long if buyers can still get their hands on money to buy, that's going to be very important. I think we're both in very interest rate sensitive markets.
Mm-hmm.
If it just say interest rates doubled, you're at 7%, pricing is going to take a hit in both of our markets.
Definitely. And the good thing is rates have stayed low, and, access to, conventional FHA, VA programs are still there. So I think just the everyday buyer is in a really good spot right now. Like if you were going to buy, I would say it's still the time to buy. Like prices are good. You may be able to actually, I think it's a buyer's market at this time, right? Because sellers are maybe a little bit scared they're not going to be able to unload the property. Everyone has this uncertainty. Buyers come in really confident and possibly get that deal they've been looking for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was happy to see the Fed inject a bunch of money into mortgage-backed securities, because there was that one, it was a Thursday where it went from like somewhere in the threes to in the low fives. That was a scary day.
Yeah.
So to see some of that money go in there and bring that back down. But there's a lot of competition for funds right now. I mean, that's why we're seeing some of the guidelines go a little bit north. So, but I think it's a temporary thing. I believe by Christmas we should be back to it. At least I hope so.
Yeah, right. Don't we all? for both our sakes.
Yeah. I will say this: last week was the first week that felt like things are starting to normalize a little bit. I know a lot of markets are still shut down, but you could kind of get the sense that a lot of people were just coming to grips with reality and knowing that they still have to move on responsibly. So, it's a little different when you have to write checks. You're keeping employees on board. It's a different thought process than maybe someone who's got a guaranteed check coming in.
Yeah. I think a lot of people like to know, you obviously have massive experience. What, in normal circumstances, what would be your best piece of advice, for a first-time investor who's like, man, I watch, all the stuff on HGTV or whatever got them into real estate, and they're just like, man, I want to flip a house, I want to get into real estate. Like, what do you have to say to them?
Well, I think the sky's the limit. I mean, to me, it's the best business in the world. It's, what other business can you literally get in with no money? You can get in with no money and you can build an empire. Like, for example, if, I want to buy $1 million in Apple stock, I'm like, hey, Brandon, loan me $1 million, so I can go buy some stocks. You're gonna be like, not a chance. Huh. If I find a $2.5 million home for $1 million, all of a sudden there's going to be some funding options. You might not know who they are or where they are just yet, but if you have a deal, there's a way that can happen. So if you find value, you can really start to build something there. But for a first time investor, I would just tell them to be aggressive in your pursuit to find a good deal, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes and you're going to have a really good deal to insulate you against those mistakes. You want to deal probably directly with sellers in a lot of cases. And a lot of sellers want to deal directly with buyers, and they want to see people do well. I run into tons of sellers who, if you're just an authentic person and you're really trying, they will make exceptions. They will help you out. They're not necessarily going to sell any cheaper, but they might, make it easier for you to buy. But for someone who's just getting out there, I would make sure the pitfall that a lot of people fall into is they underestimate the complexity of from the day they acquire it to the day they can get it on the market. That acquisition to finished product can be a lot more challenging than people give it credit for. And I would say absolutely write out your entire, remodel list and then have an ABC plan. Plan A would be, this is the contractor I'm dealing with, or I'm going to do it myself. If you're going to do it yourself, what if you get hurt? Who's going to step in and help you? Okay. If you're relying on someone else's capital to fund the fix up, what if something changes in their life? How do you continue forward? These are all things I've seen happen. They've happened to myself. They've happened to, a handful of people that I've coached. Just count on nothing going according to plan. But what can go according to plan is your effort. You show up every day and you just make it happen. And it will, there's investment deals out there for anybody who wants to do the work. It's not without, and 80% of it is just a grind, but there's 20% of it that is freaking awesome.
Really, invest where you know. Do you think everyone should start kind of in their town, or because a lot of people think, especially in California, it's tough. A lot of these higher price points, like, I need to go. I know a guy that has a portfolio in Ohio. But it's tough because obviously Ohio, California, right? Like, but what do you think about the whole invest where you know? I guess it depends where you live, right?
Yeah, well, I'd say people make the difference. You know,
Yeah.
you can go and operate in another market, but you have to be affiliated with the right people. So we're just getting ready to break into 3 more markets in our rental acquisition business. And it took a long time to find the right person to partner with. And I feel like I have that person now.
Right.
So I think the backyard is where you should hone your skills.
Mhm.
Uh, and I guess it just depends on how dedicated you are to real estate investment. I know for me, I've lived in a market where the barriers to entry were just too much. And then I was doing more, back in Arizona. So, I mean, for me, I would just go to the place I'm going to work, and I would get my money right. I would, and I would build up a war chest. And then from there, then I would think about, going out and abroad. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a great way to make a lot of money. It's a great way to lose a lot of money.
Yeah,
So
true. Especially if you can't be hands-on. Especially if you just, well, definitely if you're just starting, probably want to be fairly hands-on and fairly close to where it's happening. I wouldn't say go throw a bunch
yeah,
of money far
and
away.
you'll get more efficient. And every neighborhood we've ever worked in, we've gotten more deals in that same neighborhood. So if you find one good one, there's a chance that one could turn into 3. And
Mhm.
then you could pick up some buyers, you could pick up some new investors. There's a way to get it rolling. But I would suggest, first and foremost, even before a lot of people spend time just trying to figure out the concept of investing. I
Yeah.
would just get on the phone, start calling people that look like they have beat up abandoned houses, certain lists that come out. I mean, there's probably 50 to 60 different avenues you could go down to acquire houses. But I would say I don't think there's been a better time in history to start real estate investing.
I mean, that's huge. That's a huge statement. I think that, one thing I want to get into too is, I'm a loan officer, and I think a fair amount of loan officers may be watching this. So what's the importance of working with a skilled loan officer?
Well, look, I mean, the reason that you and I are even on this podcast is, you know, you, you were able to finance, a couple big projects for me out here in Arizona, and I'm dealing with, my little banking sphere here in Arizona, and they're like, we can't do it. You know what I mean? And you got it done in
Yeah.
3 weeks. So I'd say it's really powerful. It helps you go forward. I mean, I had one deal that you did for me, helped me unlock 750,000 in cash, and that was 5 more houses I could fix and flip without having to bring an investor on. So stuff like that is fantastic. So I'd say all lenders are not created equal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you have a buyer, you're trying to get into your property, you want someone that is working just as hard as you are, someone that is
Hmm.
super, creative, someone that knows their products. And I like this too. If they don't know their products, they know someone who does have a product that could help that person. So, and
Yeah.
you've been really good that way. So I
Well,
appreciate
I,
that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these deals are only as good as the source of capital you have. All the great deals in the world don't mean anything if at the end of the day, if you don't.
can't get any money for them, right?
But the lower the LTV, the easier to find capital, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think I think it's super key for a lot of loan officers to understand that, they bring value. There's a lot of value in what they're bringing to the table, and just don't be hesitant to reach out to a lot of people, even like yourself, right? And just be like, how can you provide value? It's not necessarily like, it's more goal oriented, right? Like, you're not, I mean, obviously you want low rates, but you're trying to accomplish a goal. So it's really trying to show them, like, here's what I can accomplish for you, compared to even, Chase Bank. A lot of people think the only lending available, I mean, I don't, can I say names, right? Like Chase, Wells Fargo, I'm just gonna name them all. But
Sure.
they don't really have creative products. Like I said, I mean, even right now, they just roll back to a 720 FICO. Like Alan Murdock probably wouldn't go into Chase Bank and get, I mean, or be able to get the kind of loans he's looking for, So there's a huge untapped market of very successful people that are looking for, creative financing and alternative products that aren't necessarily the Fannie, the Freddie, the, VA, FHA.
Yeah. I haven't used a traditional bank to finance anything for 15 years.
Wow.
So it's been a long time since I've used a traditional bank for anything. The handful of times I've gone to them, they're, they'll give me a loan, but it's, they want to give me a 50% loan on something I own free and clear. And that wasn't really helping my cause. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
tying 100% of the equity, because nobody wants to loan in second position, but tying up 100% of the equity, but only getting 50% of the liquidity. Not that exciting. So, I would highly recommend, dealing with, a back alley street fighter kind of banker type of thing.
Yeah. But I
They're
mean,
not.
even I think that goes back to the investor people. Like for people just trying to get into this, invest in real estate, is find a good lender. Like first and foremost, like find somebody that's able to, be creative, has a range of products, whether it's the traditional kind of that non-QM space, or even private money. I mean, private money is super key because, I mean, it's kind of undefinable in the sense that, I mean, you could just find somebody with a ton of money that's like, hey, this is a great deal, and be able to help you out maybe a lot more. Obviously the terms sometimes are a little rougher, but again, it's so much more, especially in the investor side, goal oriented than it is, rate sensitive.
Yeah, we borrowed a ton of private money.
Yeah.
It just depends on what the deal is. If we can make 50 grand on a deal, and our option is paying double digit interest, but we're going to be in and out of it in 3 or 4 months, then it still makes sense to do the deal. But yeah, having access to money is good when you're acquiring. It's also good for the buyer when they're acquiring from you. So having knowledge of lending in general, and then having smart people at your disposal to help these people with their cash, it's
and realtors too, man. Realtors, I know a lot of realtors. I know a few good realtors. How about that? So it's a lot of them just don't understand the lending process. And I mean, if I was a realtor and I realized that the whole transaction completely resides on this loan officer, this bank, I would want to know everything about this process and what's going on. Because a lot of them don't, man. It's pretty wild. Like they have just absolutely no clue about kind of the process of a loan. And I think that's so key for realtors to understand the mortgage side.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it blows my mind. It blows my mind when
blows mine too, bro.
Yeah. And it's, the person, providing the loan is a, some small bank in Minnesota. I'm like, what's happening here? It's almost like they don't realize what's going on. So.
And the ability to pick up more clients too, like knowing that some of these products exist, like these investor products that I do a lot of. Like if you have these, and bank statement is probably the biggest one, because you're able to help a lot of these self-employed clients, and maybe they didn't claim anything on taxes, really very, very low, a lot of write-offs, but they're looking at, bank deposits instead of tax returns. I mean, you have a whole field of very successful people that now qualify for a loan. And a lot of these people are making really, really good money, man. It's great transactions where, you're getting some of even the elusive jumbos for some of these people.
Yeah, it is it's amazing how many people are out there that still need and want the money.
Yeah.
After banking changed, and after the recession, there's an awful lot of people that are still shut out of the market. And they're talented people. They're making good money. And their realtors don't know where to find the money. You know what I mean? Their regular banks don't know where to find the money.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised how many people I've told about you here in Tucson. And I'm explaining to them, I'm like, hey, you can do, they're like, oh, they make 300 grand a year. I don't know why they can't get a loan. I'm like, they can. They can.
They can do it.
Yeah, they can. So,
yeah.
Right. I mean, people get into habits, they get into, I know they get into habits, and they're not in the habit of solving the problem on the money side. Me, it's like, I just keep looking for the solution, because I know there's one out there for every problem I have, at least in my business.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I'm constantly surprised by the people I talk to that don't know a lot of this exists, like even the non-QM space. And even I did a VA jumbo loan a while back. I mean, this was 2 years ago, while there was still like VA loan limits, and they didn't realize that, they could get above the loan limit. And then, this gentleman had a Ferrari, and his DTI, when he went to the bank, they're like, oh no, man, like we can't touch you. This is above the loan limit. You have other time, I guess he had a Lamborghini, but whatever, his payment was ridiculous. Like your DTI is terrible. I'm like, well, Like, okay, well, you're obviously doing fine. I'm like, do you pay for out of your business? Like, yep. Here, I'm like, send me 12 months of your business, business bank statements. Let me see where the payments come out every time. Okay, boom, like that's a business expense, right out of the DTI. So, I mean, there's a lot of kind of creative options that some people just, I mean, they don't take the time to kind of peel the layer back just a little bit, and it's, I mean, surprising, to say
Yeah,
the
a lot of
least.
people, I mean, just like the big banks, they want plain vanilla. A lot of lenders, they want
Yeah,
plain vanilla. And
simple.
yeah, and a lot of realtors, to be honest with you, they're looking for the plain vanilla clients. The problem is, plain vanilla is, I don't even know what percentage, it's not a space we play in a bunch. I mean, the stuff we retail out,
Yeah,
might go to a lot of plain vanilla people, but not all the time. So, but half of our business is not. Half of our business is all off market, cash, private
mm.
money, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of horse trading. We've done, we've bought properties with all sorts of notes. We've done, whatever the seller wants to do.
Yeah, got to get creative, man.
Yeah. And you got to kind of show them too, show them
Yeah,
what it means.
no, I think that is there anything that you would say, any advice you want to give to just in general, just entrepreneurs that are out there hustling, especially at a time like this?
Sure. Double your effort, increase your efficiency.
Yeah, I think that's the tone of this conversation for
Yeah.
sure. It's probably going to be like the caption when I post this.
Yeah. Well, I think you absolutely you have to double your efforts. You have to eat healthy. You have to manage your energy. I mean, for me,
Yeah,
like I said earlier, 25 years, I wake up at 4:45. I'm playing basketball. I'm playing tennis. I'm lifting weights. I'm trail running. I'm swimming. I'm cycling. I'm doing something 6 days a week. I've just been doing that. The one thing I've noticed though is, that allows me to get to about, 5:30 p.m. and then I'm kind of done for the day.
yeah,
And I probably spend half of my day just kind of calming the other side of the transaction down. So that just takes a lot of energy. Studies show that 40% of the energy you use in any day is between your ears. It's, it goes to power your brain.
I
And we're
believe it.
constantly working on keeping the peace, keeping people, in
We
deals.
know all about that, man, on the
Yeah.
loan side.
Even, we ended up papering 6 deals on a Friday, and 2 of them, they have problems that are not problems. It's just a
Mhm.
lack of sophistication and they're just kind of nervous. It takes a lot of energy to keep those on track,
Yeah.
to go back to the well and be like, no, this is that, And
People
so,
it's crazy because people don't really think about that too either, like their battery life, their mental battery life throughout a day. Or maybe they read stuff online and like, oh, this is the routine that Bill Gates follows, or, and not my favorite example, but Elon Musk or someone like that, successful entrepreneur, and they think that they need to mirror that exact. I mean, half of being an entrepreneur, I think, is learning yourself,
right.
and learning your capacities, and then setting up your schedule and your ideas of productivity to kind of match up with who you are throughout the day.
Yeah, I do. I've always been a big believer in starting a workout with your day. It's just the
Yeah,
ignition,
I'm the same
keep
way. I'm the
going,
same way.
keep calm. But I quickly figured out, for me to like be at full, what I mean, full battery life early in the
Yeah,
morning when I'm leading my team, when we're going over all of our leads, when we're going over all of our projects, when we're figuring out what the next move is, when they're leaning on me to give them confidence or feel confidence, and that they're not going to all lose their jobs. So that's a significant amount of energy. So I
yeah,
shifted to just doing stuff in the afternoon, late afternoon too, 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that. And obviously, the basketball gym is closed, so that makes it easy because I played hoops Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with my friends. And that's not happening. Most of the tennis courts in town are closed. There's a couple that are open.
don't remind me.
Yeah, yeah. There's all kinds of stuff that's closed there, but lots of hiking, lots of trail running.
Yeah,
Been
getting
riding the
out there.
bike a little bit. So, but yeah, I think the main thing is just manage your energy as best you can, because that energy shows up. I'm sitting down for this meeting, I stand up for all of my meetings and all of my phone calls. So I have my desk is way up. So I'm doing the Zoom, I'm standing up. Energy is contagious, and you've got
Yeah.
to live with that energy. People
Other
have got,
person can hear it. They can hear it on the other side of the phone.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I'm the same way, man. Any call I'm on, I don't know if I've ever taken a call like even seated. Like I have to be walking around or doing something. I'm at the old offices. I was always circling, and there was always a water fountain. I was always walking around the water fountain,
I
repeatedly.
love that kind of stuff. And that's one of the reasons I love where I live, because I can just circle my house. I've got a trail that runs out to the west side a little bit. So it makes it easy to
Yeah,
stand up, move around. But yeah, so my routine is definitely managing the energy, putting good fuel in my body most of the time. You know what I mean? Still getting an In-N-Out burger every
yeah.
once in a while,
Aren't
still
we all?
like that, but but hitting lots of antioxidants, lots of, dark greens in the smoothie, just plant-based protein, just trying to keep it as clear as I can, trying to do all the little things because they all add up.
Yeah, and it adds to your mental energy. A lot of people like I mean legitimately feel so much better when I'm eating clean. I'm eating fish, I'm getting the greens in. Like it just gives you, you're moving in the morning, stretching, workout, whatever your little routine is. It just gives you so much more capacity for the day and to get stuff done. And I mean to even, the mental clarity as opposed to, when you have that, I mean, cheeseburger, oh man, I need a nap. Oh, just calms you down, just like slothy. And no, dude, people don't realize how important, I mean, what you put in your body is. I think, there's obviously been a kind of a great awakening in a sense in the last couple of years. People kind of coming around a lot more to, the healthy living and whatnot, but definitely a lot of room to grow because there's still McDonald's on every corner.
Oh, there's a ton of room to grow, but man, I just can't preach enough of how important it is to just have a wellness plan in place, especially
Yeah.
for just like this, because in addition to having to work harder just to maintain what you were doing,
Hmm.
now you still have to, have the energy and the mental capacity to figure out and recognize opportunities and shifts for you. And they're
Hmm.
happening. I mean, they're happening whether you're taking advantage of them or not. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I spend a lot of time, thinking about as I'm going into the week, like, all right, what is the major change that can happen this week? How
Hmm.
can we use it to benefit or pivot our business in a way that, we can sustain ourselves through however long these
Yeah.
changes
Are
go.
you taking time like Sundays? Is like Sunday night? You just, hey, I'm sitting down. This is what my Monday looks like. This is what at least like a general outline, so you can kind of.
Yeah. Well, I treat everything I do. I'm a big sports fan. I treat everything like it's I don't want to say a sporting event, but a sport planning event. So,
Yeah.
um, I normally from 6 to 8 on Sundays, it's like, we're doing our game plan for next week. And then we're just constantly having huddles, throughout the stuff. We have a walkthrough, a pregame meeting. We're having huddles throughout the thing. That's when I'm, my basically kickoff is when I've got my Zoom meeting in the morning now. I've got a list on Basecamp of all the projects that we're working on,
Mm.
all of the assignments. I'm asking them, what their input is. Do they have clarity on what they're being asked to do? Um, there's so many little things that you have to pay attention to, throughout the course of a day. And that's what our huddles, our halftime, our post game meeting, all of that stuff. It's super important. But I do work off a time block. So I have a time block. The only thing I've done is I've taken my workout from early in the morning. And the other thing that I've done is I've increased my antioxidant intake, and I've increased my sleep by over an hour per night.
Wow.
And the reason for that is I just think that we all have to be as healthy as we possibly can. If one of us did get sick, we need that energy in our body to fight whatever we might have to fight. So, and just to be as fresh as I can mentally, I've turned the alarm off in the morning, and I'm trying to get to bed a little bit earlier each night. And the results are they're compounding. You can feel the results happening in the right way.
Hey, brother. Hey, man. Well, I really appreciate you kind of taking the time out of your busy day and sitting down with me. I think there was definitely a lot of stuff people could learn from and, take and possibly incorporate into their routines and kind of their mentality. So thank you.
Right on, man. Anything for you, B-Boy.
I appreciate it, brother.
All right.
But we'll chat soon.
Okay. Take care, man. I'll see you. All right. Bye.